Hi, I'm John Licata, Chief Energy Strategist with Blue Phoenix. Blue Phoenix is an energy research company primarily focused on the future of energy and the companies that are literally going to power our future. Once again, today I'm joined by my friend and colleague, Mickey Fulp, the most mercenary geologist. Mickey, thanks again for joining me today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, John.
Absolutely. I feel like you and I really have some really great conversations that are enlightening viewers about the sector of the nuclear sector in general, and opportunities that might actually dictate the evolution of a space that's still largely trying to recover post Fukushima. So I'm going to jump right into this. Earlier this week, President Obama nominated Elizabeth Sherwood Randall to be the Deputy Energy Secretary of the Department of Energy. I found this really interesting. To me, I actually thought this was a bullish catalyst for the nuclear sector. And the reason being is because she actually did replace Dan Pohlman, who actually himself was a nuclear expert. So Obama basically traded one nuclear expert for another one. And I really feel that her mandate is going to be focused on research and development, which at a time when innovation can really change the way safety is regarded in the United States, I believe that this might be a catalyst for the space to really hone down on why R&D is so important. I think that's something that could benefit the sector, but I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I know you might not see that the way I do.
Well, I certainly think the move was needed, and I applaud Obama for doing it. That said, I'm oftentimes skeptical about his motives or what he did. You know, he's taken a lot of flack, John, because in Prague in 2009, he basically vowed to rid the world of nuclear weapons by 2015, with a policy of much the same as the megatons to megawatts program,
Mhm.
where you're taking high enriched uranium convert to low enriched uranium. That absolutely has not come about. In the meantime, there's been approval with the Department of Energy to spend $60 billion on new nuclear warheads to replace obsolete ones. We have the MOX fuel fabrication, the mixed oxide fuel fabrication plant in Savannah, Georgia, was supposed to have been completed, what, 7 years ago. Now it's pushed out to 2016 with a four times capex to get that going. MOX is one of the security things that we would hope to make nuclear fuel safer. So, based on the track record, I'm somewhat skeptical. She has, at best, 2 years to go in this position, or 2.5 years in the position. They made a big deal about how she's nonpartisan, but if you look back at her career, she was an aide to Biden. She was in the Clinton administration. As soon as Bush got in, she went back to university. When Obama came in, she's had, what, three positions in the Obama administration. But certainly, she is focused on the idea to rid the world of nuclear weapons, and I think we all would like to see that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really can't um, uh, deny with making certainly some valid points, but I'm going to say this. I mean, granted, targets by Obama, I guess within energy and across many sectors, we've seen how targets have generally played out on in the political spectrum for since I believe we were first made a democracy here in the United States. So I certainly would believe that. Look, targets are what they are. We have 2020 carbon target. I don't think we're going to make that either. I certainly think that that's something that's ludicrous. But I do believe that Sherwood Randall coming into the picture her appointment might actually be because that they've been falling behind and getting public flack for their position about curtailing nuclear weapons. So I think that's a positive for the space. But I really feel is that this is an opportunity right now to really focus in on the R&D, and I think that's something from the university level that we're going to start to see a lot more a positive bias. I mean, look at her track record. Look, I'm not going to say that what you said was wrong. I agree with you about being where she was on the side of policy. But quite honestly, she had great success in Syria removing chemical weapons. I think that's another major notch in her belt that she's going to bring over to the DOE. And now you have her working with Ernie Moniz, the Secretary of Energy, who his main focus is the war on carbon. Her main focus is on safety. His is on carbon. To me, it's a nice 1-2 punch that maybe we can actually recommit to the future of nuclear power. And again, this is not the nuclear power or what we've known in the past. We're talking about the evolution of small modular reactors, floating nuclear reactors, the potential for us to actually game change the industry through technology. Some points that you and I have made in the past, Mickey. So, for me, I just think that, this might be if you look between the lines, maybe this is actually something that is going to be a positive for space that largely is still kicked, to the curb and is trading at 60%, with a spot price 60% below where it was, pre-Fukushima. So, maybe her focusing on safety and R&D is a great thing for the space.
Oh, I would agree with that. Forgive me for being somewhat skeptical
Hey, I'm
about.
skeptical too.
I think the goals are lofty. We'll see the efficacy of this at the end of the Obama administration in about 2.5 years. But certainly, I will agree that it's positive, John.
Listen, if and I'll make another point on this, and then certainly want to get to the investment angle because I think that's certainly important for viewers. But I really believe that if one of her main goals is safety, you have to look at what you and I have talked about before, that the United States produces around 4.5 million pounds domestic uranium, and we consume 55 million pounds of uranium annually. You can certainly make a case of this being a case of national security, especially as you alluded to earlier. The high enriched uranium contract with Russia has gone to the wayside. Now I think people need to understand that our dependence on foreign uranium is far greater than our dependence on foreign oil. So again, trying to read between the lines and see her safety angle and see if the bias towards nuclear energy is one that needs to happen for national security as well.
Well, I will agree with that, and there's lots of initiatives that have been promulgated and need to be pursued with the national laboratories, and let's hope she does that. On the R&D side, that would be mixed oxide fuel, reprocessing, the more safe nuclear fuel with silicon carbide cladding, the use of thorium as nuclear fuel, and we both know that that is the ultimate answer for the security from nuclear weapons, that is, because it's not a fissile fuel. In other words, it will not sustain its own nuclear reaction. So we have hope there, and let's watch it play out. And I think it's if it does work out the way that we both hope, it's going to make the world a safer place, and it's going to improve the safety of nuclear energy to generate electricity.
Listen, I think anytime we can talk about 24/7 baseload power and a power source that doesn't emit carbon emissions, I just think if we're truly committed toward a war not only on carbon, but one that can actually make a new generation of sustainability, I think we both agree that the nuclear case is one that's strong, and there's no way that we can close perfectly good nuclear power plants, beef up our reliance on coal when natural gas prices rise, and in the same breath, start exporting natural gas. Something has to give here. I mean, I'd love to see more geothermal added to the mix too, but obviously the case for nuclear power was strong. So with that said, I'm gonna just start this off and get your views right away. Investing in the space. A lot of people are still confused about names to play in the space. You and I look at a lot of the miners. I mean, what do you think? What are the best capital allocations for investors to focus in on?
Well, I focus very much on domestic uranium producers in the United States, and they are small. They have plans to increase production. There are currently 3 ISR producers in the U.S. that are U.S. based, that is, and that would be Uranium Energy Corp, Uraners, and UR Energy. Uranium Energy Corp production in South Texas, the other two new production in Wyoming. For the most part, those companies have somewhat limited ability to grow their production. The other one in the space would be Energy Fuels. They are a conventional uranium producer with a mill in Utah and multiple projects. One currently supplying mined uranium, but a whole pipeline of other projects that are shut-in mines or projects in development. So that's the way I choose to play the space. All these companies are depressed in their stock price right now, mainly because the spot or in their stock prices right now, mainly because of the depression in the spot price. But we expect that spot price to recover as soon as Japanese reactors start to produce electricity today again, and we think that will start to happen by the end of the year.
You know what, Mickey, and before I go into some ideas that I'm looking at in the space, my contacts have been pointing towards that Japanese restart to actually happen a lot sooner than people think. I know people have been waiting for it, and there has been calls for it to happen by the end of the year. But now we're already in July, and I've been told that we might actually see something before the summer's over. Granted, we recently just saw a super typhoon hit the Japanese area, which was completely unfortunate, and many people who were evacuated from Fukushima actually went to Okinawa, which was evacuated itself. But I do think that the Japanese government needs to step in because their electricity prices are soaring domestically, and that's hurting their economic growth. So I think the case for nuclear is not just for clean energy purposes. The economic case for that, because they're now primarily reliant on foreign sources of power, is something that the Japanese government, I think, is looking to expedite an answer to. So we may hear something a lot sooner than people think, which I think will be great for the entire space. With that said, I'm looking at companies. I've been seeing it. Cameco is a company that, to me, I think they have to acquire to stay strong. They've been just set back for years upon years with Cigar Lake, and now with their commitment to China, I just think they are looking for North American supplies to help them. I think they need to look into areas, especially that they themselves operate in the United States. I wouldn't be surprised if they start to look at one of their neighbors. Energy Fuels, which is a company that Blue Phoenix has a strategic relationship. I personally own shares in Energy Fuels for disclosure. I just believe that they are one of the best companies in the space, and remove my affiliation. I actually think that because they have a relationship with Sumitomo, I just think that's really important for people to recognize that even post Fukushima, Sumitomo remained their partner. I think that says a lot about that relationship and those assets that they hold. KEPCO is another major partner of theirs, which I think is great. And I think while many people are focused on that spot price of uranium, I don't think that's a true indicator of the health of the sector. And by that, I mean Energy Fuels has contracts priced about $58. For the two big contracts for the next 18 months. The spot price that's double where the spot price currently is. So to me, I think that's really the bellwether is the companies that can last through this downtrend. And to me, Energy Fuels is one of the most strongly positioned names in the space.
Well, I will agree with that. And as for complete disclosure, I am a shareholder of Energy Fuels. I am a shareholder of Uranium Energy Corp, and I am a shareholder of Uraners. So I have skin in this game too. It's interesting. There is great debate right now. We know the demand. The demand side of the uranium equation is pretty easy to figure out. Supply is still very opaque. There's a report from a Japanese metals supplier that I have seen recently that indicates they think that there will be 7 restarts by the end of the year. There is a great debate going on in the industry whether Japanese utilities have been selling their stockpiles off. Uh, and there is no agreement in that debate. You've got two sides. Some people saying they have to be selling their supplies because if you do the math, uh, spending something well over $100 million a day in extra energy costs. That's 30, almost 35, $36 billion a year to buy basically liquefied natural gas. So where's that money coming from with the Japanese power companies? Other people say no, they're absolutely they're sitting on the stockpiles. But I probably tend to agree with the former in the fact, but because the fact that the spot prices become so depressed. You know, we thought $50 was a base post Fukushima. Then we thought $40 was a base, 35. It blew way down. It's very briefly stayed at $30. Now it appears that 28 and change is the new paradigm. But I think as soon as Japanese reactors restart, at least there will be a psychological lift in the market. And then we'll see if the supply-demand equation changes drastically.
I certainly think that's a great point, Mickey. For me, I just think that people who think the Japanese hold a real key to the equation. I just want to point out that when Germany actually post Fukushima decided to move away from nuclear power, they actually had the highest electricity prices in all of the EU. So now Japan is actually facing that same fate. So it's not just because it's happening in Japan; it happened in Germany too. So now that this is something where if we're truly committed to lowering the cost of energy for the consumer and also winning a war on carbon and then winning the war on sustainability, you would think that that is enough to support the price at 28 and a half or 28 and a quarter, wherever we are today in the spot price of uranium. But I think that the players best positioned for longevity are the ones that are seeking strategic partners within and away from the United States. And I guess that's really why I'm very excited about the prospects for the space, the sector, and why I continue to think Energy Fuels is a great company. So, I just think that we have a lot happening right now, and this is why I love talking to you, because it's always a great chat. And I'll give you the last word. Where do you think the market is headed near term?
Well, I think the spot price is probably going to be flat until Japanese restarts happen. That will be a tremendous psychological boost to the market, in my opinion, not only for the spot price, but also for the uranium miners in the United States. You know, there's nobody that can produce uranium and make money at $28.50, even the best ISR producers. So at some point, and we've seen this even in the United States with a couple of the aforementioned producers, they have basically said, we're not going to produce as much uranium or we're not going to produce uranium for a while until the spot price recovers. Why should we waste our reserves by mining them now when we can sit on them and wait until the price rebounds? So to me, uranium is the ultimate contrarian play right now, and I've made most of my money in the stock market over the years by being a contrarian, being first in or among the first in. The downside to being a contrarian is oftentimes you have to have lots of patience, and I'm a patient man in the stock market. Not a lot of things I'm patient about, but I've learned through the school of hard knocks that patience is a virtue.
Oh, that's certainly great. I'll just one last comment I'd like to make, because you said something that piqued my interest, and I think it's interesting for people watching this to understand, is that the miners themselves who have long-term contracts may actually start to keep their quality minerals that they've retained, the uranium, it's tucked away, and start buying at the spot price, because it's better to their advantage if the price actually starts to rally, and then they can sell their more quality goods longer term. That might actually help to support the price, the spot price too, because I really think that's something where the uranium companies are starting to take a playbook from the refining sector, from natural gas producers, and that really is that when the price gets low enough to shut the spigot off. And I think that's something where you could actually see the uranium companies really start to enact and start to copy what other industries are doing as well. So, well, Mickey, you and I always tend to talk for a while, and it's always great conversations, and I really appreciate your time. One of these days, we're going to have to do a coffee with Mickey and John in person. It just seems like we have to do this and be next to each other versus doing this over Google Plus. But thanks again for your time. I'm John Licata, Chief Energy Strategist with Blue Phoenix, and again, I was joined today by my co-host of sorts, Mickey Falk, the mercenary geologist, whose insights continue to help the industry along. Mickey, thanks a lot, and we'll talk to you soon.
I look forward to our next chat in a couple of weeks, John, over a cup of coffee. Thanks for having me once again.
Take care.